This task is titled Requirements Allocation, and in this task we allocate the security and privacy requirements of the system and to the environment of operation. We take those requirements we defined in an earlier task and we're going to put them in place where they belong in your information system. So join us for more. In this video, we'll be discussing Task P17, Requirements Allocation. Allocate security and privacy requirements to the system and the environment of operation is the task specified for P17. Potential inputs include organization and system level risk assessment results, documented security and privacy requirements, organization and system level risk assessment results, list of common control providers and common controls available for inheritance, the system description, the system element information, the system component inventory, and relevant laws, executive orders, directives, regulations, and policies. Expected outputs from this task are a list of security and privacy requirements allocated to the system, system elements, and the environment of operation. Primary responsibility for this task goes to the security architect, the privacy architect, the system security officer, the system privacy officer. They are supported by the chief information officer, the authorizing official or authorizing official's designated representative, the mission or business owner, the senior agency information security officer, the senior agency official for privacy, and the system owner. For a new system, it aligns with initiation, concept requirements and definition, and if you have an existing system, it aligns with operations and maintenance. It does align with the cybersecurity framework, with ID.gv or governance, the policies, procedures, and processes to manage and monitor the organization's regulatory, legal, risk, environmental, and operational requirements are understood and inform the management of cybersecurity risk. Security and privacy requirements are allocated to guide and inform control selection and implementation for the organization, system elements, and or environment of operation. So we're going to determine the requirements and we're going to define those requirements, and then we're going to allocate requirements to different parts of the system, different elements of the system where those requirements need to be levied. For example, if we have part of our system that is a protected enclave that has the PII, that can be the only area that we are required to implement the PII requirements. For that to happen, we have to make sure that that part of the system that has the PII is actually protected from the rest of the system. So when we talk about requirements allocation, we can determine where the requirements have to be implemented. Maybe it's across the entire system, or maybe we have a segmented system that's protected at different levels that we can have different requirements at different levels. Requirement allocation identifies where the controls will be implemented. The allocation of requirements conserves resources and helps to streamline the risk management process by ensuring that requirements are not implemented on multiple systems or system elements when implementation of common controls or a system level control on a specific element that provides the needed protection capability. Another thing we can think about with this allocation is what controls do we get from common control providers? If we can get controls from common control providers, the system owner does not need to implement those controls within the system. Instead, they can inherit them from already approved sources. Great examples of this are policies and procedures, access controls, physical controls. These are great examples of controls that are prime for inheritance. If we look at NIST's publication 853 revision 5, there's a table that specifies controls that are recommended for inheritance. So we can go through our control set that we're going to build later, and we can define those controls that we think should be inherited. And that's why at the beginning, one of the inputs is the control list of inheritable controls. References for this task include Special Publication 839, 64, 160 Volume 1, the NIST Cybersecurity Framework, and OMB FEA. In this module, we discussed Task P17, its inputs and outputs, roles and responsibility, the SDLC and Cybersecurity Framework, lifecycle alignment, requirements allocation location, references, and then obviously the closing, if any of this doesn't look familiar to you, I'd say go back and watch that again. If it all looks good, continue on to the course material or the next video, and we will see you then.